Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Born to be a Snow Fighter, the Metal Pless podcast, the Metal Pless family podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Nick Arndt of Metal Pless, and along with me today is my co-host, Bob Green. Bob, say hi.
Hello, everybody.
Today we have a very important guest in the Metal Pless world. We have Mr. Jake Longenbach of Western Lehigh Services out of Allentown, PA, the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania. And we're going to sit down with Jake, get to know Jake, and hear Jake's story of his landscaping company, his Metal Pless sales company, and how he's kind of pushing the industry in a new direction, utilizing the Metal Pless full live edge. So, Jake, welcome, and thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, Jake, start off Western Lehigh Services in the Lehigh Valley in Pennsylvania. Tell us about that area, and tell us about your company.
Western Lehigh was started back in 1990. It's a family-owned business. My father started the business in 90. Was a residential design build landscape company, did a little bit of snow removal in the winter, pretty much just subbed our couple machines out that we had to one of his buddies that did full snow removal up until 2015 when I came back and started working full-time in the business after college. And that's when we started doing the snow removal at a full-scale level, the salting, the sidewalks, and plowing, not just subbing our machines out and plowing, a couple hours a year whenever we got the snow. Unfortunately, we don't live in a great snow market. We only get, 32 to 34 inches of snow a year. Some years are good, some years are not so good. A memorable snow year that we had was 6 inches. That was a rough winter. It was a couple winters ago. So hopefully this upcoming winter, we can make up for that. It's been a couple years now since we've had a good snow season. But we're lucky in the area that we live in. We have a ton of industrial, population is high. So the level of service is very demanding on what our customers and our clientele expect and what we give them. So we get a lot of services out of smaller storms, and it allows us to keep going in the wintertime and keep everybody busy. So from 2015, when we started doing full service, we ran rubber edge boxes. We were just getting into it, so it took a lot of equipment and whatnot to keep growing and building. And every year we were fighting it, and it was just a very frustrating operation because it took a lot more time, it took a lot more energy, it took a lot more salt to fight the hard pack that we were creating with our rubber edges, and we just couldn't keep up with storms on some of our distribution centers because the trucks were making hard packed as we were trying to clear it and plow it off. So fast forward to 2019 at CIMA, we were sort of looking to revamp our pusher and plow operation and what we use in our equipment. And that's where we started talking and met Bob at CIMA in 2019 and started talking about our next evolution in our snow business and what we were going to do from there. And we were hung up on the price. The price of the plow was a big thing for us. It was only driven by that because of our snow market that we were in. We didn't have any seasonal accounts. We just come off of some not so good seasons, but we knew we had to do something. So luckily Bob had a customer of his that was in New Mexico, New York, and he had bought a Max Pro the year prior, and it ended up being a little too big for the sites that he was plowing. So talked us into picking that up, and the rest has been history from there.
That was, I think, a marriage made in heaven between you and the guy's name is, I still remember, it's Justin Harrington.
Yep.
Because his issue was his municipality isn't flat. There's nothing flat. You can't drive 50 yards without having an elevation change, and he was scratching a lot. That we, a 1022 brand new cat loader, he went all in with his purchase.
Yep.
And he kept everything like it was brand new. I mean, you got to use blade, but it was in new condition. And I had been down to help him with some operator techniques, and he just, as hard as he tried, because he had banks in his parking lots, he had slopes going in and out. he was gouging. So he went into a Max Pro rubber edge, like one of our very first full rubber live edge Max Pros. And so he bought that in going into the winter of 2020. And he said, "Can you help me sell this?" There's a 1022, right? That you bought?
Yep, it's 1022, correct.
Can you help me? And so we put the word out, and at SIMA, you walked up. I think the first person you talked to was Linda, and Linda brought
Correct.
you over to me because I had this used plow for sale, and that's how you got into your first
Yep.
more price friendly at the time
Everything
Max Pro.
happens. Boy, everything happens at SIMA. This comes up almost every single episode.
Yeah,
Is
where all the
people
relationships are made, all the
people
contacts.
come
Yeah,
to SIMA, Cincinnati 2026. If you haven't gone, please come. Who knows what will happen? You know,
Yeah,
it could be a turning point for your business.
yeah,
absolutely.
it's a great place. But
Yeah.
yeah, so we buy the plow from Justin, a buddy of mine. We'd run up there real quick on a Sunday. We're pulling into New Mexico, and I'm like, how did a guy in this area go and purchase a Metal Pless and have the volume that he could afford to buy the plow? Because I don't know, the population might be like 5 people there. It's not very
It's a
high.
cute little town for sure. I mean,
Oh, it's nice if you want to
I
get
was
away
leaving that
from
town,
people.
and there was people on like Amish people outside of town, like horse and buggy stuff going on. I'm like, oh my God, it's this guy. And he did everything there, and he
Yep.
was so equipped. And he'd be like, "Bob, I'm gonna try to do this church with this Max Pro." I'm like, why? It's too big for the church. I mean, but he was equipped to the gills in snow
Yep.
removal, and everything was immaculate. So yeah, it was a good way to get Western Lehigh into their first Max Pro for sure.
Yeah, so we bought the plow, brought it home. My father, he's still very heavily involved in the business. So that year we had finally purchased him a new Cat 926 as well with this plow. So it was going to be like our staple piece, and he was going to run it. And another almost snowless winter. We only plowed twice that year. So the first time we were out with the machine, I obviously had to go see how this plow was going to work. And it didn't even take 45 minutes to know that we were onto something and we were heading in a different direction with our plowing operation, because we knew right off the bat it was going to cut machines out of our fleet, and it was going to cut the need for extra labor and time, and salt reduction was going to be huge. So fast forward next year, we picked up more. We became a dealer. We went full in on the whole Metal Pless plow and the Metal Pless family, and the rest is history from there. Now, now we're running almost 50 plows in our fleet, and it's a great thing. It's been huge for our business. It's been huge for our productivity, our efficiency, salt reduction, and our salt consumption is severely down. We were lucky enough 4 years ago now, Bob, to run the first full live edge on the United States side. And that was another thing. Once we started that, we knew within half hour, 45 minutes of running that plow that we were going in the next direction and on to the next tier of Metal Pless, and how much better the scrape was out of the full live edge, and the ease of operation, and just how the whole plow has so much more flex in the wings, and you don't get the plow's not as rigid, the wings aren't as rigid, so they float and they contour so much better, and it's just an amazing product, an amazing plow. And since 21, 22, we switched our whole fleet over to full live edge. The only standard wing plows that we have anymore are 813s on our skid steers. Other than that, everything else is full live edge. Our 1016s are full live edge. Our backhoes are running full live edge. Our wheel loaders are all full live edge. It's been a great product.
Yep. So full live edge, and we had our previous guest, Mike Savage of Midwest Machinery. It's another sort of similar situation where you used the first full live edge, which were Max Pros, I think 1022s or 1020s. I'm not sure what they were. Then you're so sold on the full live edge that the sales rep that calls on you, Steve Sapaniak, the next season just starts putting in orders for full live edge blades for sizes that don't really exist yet.
Yeah, Van Wings,
so
Van
all of a
Wings
sudden,
and 1016s.
Yep, I'm looking through the orders. I'm going, that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. I guess we're making it. But yeah, you've pushed into new territory, not just with the Max Pros, which there are now handfuls of them out there from Vancouver all the way to the East Coast, but you've got full live edge 1036 16s, I think you have 1042-18s also.
1042-18s. Yep, we were running 1042-18s on like a Cat 440 backhoe, and then some smaller wheel loaders. Yeah, they're just great. We just love them.
So Jacob, we had a conversation early in your Metal Plus life. I think it was a Van Wing that you were having problems with the 8-foot wing scratching here and there, and then you transitioned to an 8-foot full live edge wing. Tell me what you said after using the Van Wing with the full live edge.
The ease of operating that Van Wing with the full live edge on the wings was just night and day difference. There's so much more flex and float in the wings that you don't have the contouring issue and trying to make sure that the plow is set perfectly down on the ground to run so you don't get the scraping or the gouging. We were doing some bigger distribution centers where we would come out of the docks and the parking lot had an incline coming out of the docks. So as you're back dragging out of the docks, if you have your wings folded back to fit into between the trailers or whatever, the wings are hitting the increase in the parking lot where the parking lot's going up and the plow is still down, so it doesn't have the forgiveness in the wing for it to come up, so you're digging in your wing. And once we went to that full live edge, you have that the springs in the wing have that float and that ability to come up, so it took care of those issues that we were having. And when you're running 40 to 50 part-time seasonal operators, you need to be able to give them the tools to be successful. And staying in a standard live edge with not full live edge on the wings, it was just, I felt like it was setting them up for failure from the beginning. And now there's a huge cost a huge add-on on the cost to having the full live edge on the wings, but I felt that it outweighed and was more beneficial to have it than have the standard wing. Not trying to talk down on the standard wing and the standard live edge. It's still a great product and it's still a great plow, and I think it has its places and its applications. Just for some of the lots that we were plowing with the contours and what the lots were and how they laid, just the full live edge works a lot better for us.
So, Jake, we don't get to see each other a ton because I'm in the Midwest and you're on the East Coast, but we
That's
see
'cause you
each
never
other.
come visit.
I will. Trust me, I'm busy. I'm busy where we're at.
It's a tight race with Steve Saponiak. If you came to visit me, you might beat him out.
Oh, Steve. Sorry, Steve.
We love him. We love him.
Anyways, my point is when we were chatting at one of the trade shows at SIMA, you had said something to me about the full live edge that I'd never thought about. And you're getting to that point with mentioning your operators, which is when you set down a Max Pro at the very beginning of the season and the concrete is dry, it is critical that you run the mold board 90 degrees flat. And there's not a huge learning curve, but there is some learning curve, because if you're pitched forward, like he's saying on the gouging and the flexing of the full live edge wings, you can gouge with the feet of the abrasion shoe if you're pitched forward or backward. And you said to me, that's the problem when the operators get on site for the first time, especially when the concrete's dry. The full live edge takes that away. So it's a training thing where you could be a little off on the angle of the mold board, but the forgiveness of the floating edges on the wings, it doesn't care, right? So the operator can be incorrect, but he's not damaging the property.
Yeah, what we found is the full live edge and how that the wings in the plow has so much more forgiveness. The ease of operation, there's so much more room there's a much larger variance there on how the plow is set down on the ground. Now, obviously, you want to still run the plow to 90 degrees the best that you can, but you don't have to the plow has a lot more forgiveness in it, and you don't have to pick the plow up, set it down, adjust your in and out and adjust your slip hitch and then proceed to start plowing. Like, I can come up to a curve full 20-foot wings out, back drag, pick the plow up, turn around, wing in on both wings, set it down and go, and adjust the plow as I'm starting to drive because I have that forgiveness in it. And where you don't have as much of that in the standard, it just allows that operator to get so much more familiar with the plow at such a faster rate because they don't have the anxiety that they're not going to be operating it properly. And you'll
Yeah, and
know
then
when you're running them, whether you're running it properly or not, listening to the chatter of the springs and the live edge and all that stuff. So
magical little chatter that you hear in some of the videos. And videos. So can't believe we've made it 15 minutes without talking about videos. Western Lehigh, their particular Metal Pless accounts do amazing videos. So I'm sure if you're a Metal Pless fan and you're listening or watching this, you've already seen Western Lehigh's Metal Pless videos, but you haven't,
Shout out
I'll
to
link to
Leslie.
it. Shout
yep,
out to
Leslie does a
Leslie.
great job for us.
These are not just really good videos, these are excellent videos, and they showcase the full live edge a lot, but they just showcase the fleet and the units you guys run. Man, just thank you so much for doing those videos, because they are incredible. So we
Yeah, no, of
appreciate
course.
that so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah.
We take a lot of pride in our fleet and the equipment that we run and trying to do the best, provide the best product for our customers that we can. And we're a cat dedicated company. We run pretty much 99% all cat, and our whole fleet is Metal Plus on our plow side, and it's just been a great combination, and it works for us. For me, uptime is everything. Downtime is not a good friend when it's snowing. So our relationships with Metal Plus and our relationships that we have with Caterpillar and our local Caterpillar dealer has just been top notch and phenomenal.
I have a question. Let's go back a little bit, because you're one of the rare companies that still runs a backhoe in snow.
Ooh,
It's more
backhoes.
it's
Yes.
more of a, that I would say it's an old school tool. People, because backhoes are kind of, for a landscaper especially,
Obsolete. Yep.
obsolete. A
Yep.
municipality is it's still in the toolbox, but I grew up with the backhoes. Uh, you know, John and I were just talking about it. John Vanders and I were just talking about it a couple days ago about the backhoe was such a great forward pusher, difficult to turn, but we both we agreed about a wing plow on a backhoe works so well. Obviously, turning, you got to lift, you got to use your split brakes a
Yep.
little
You got to know
bit
how to
like you
drive
would
them.
on a tractor, whereas a loader will make the turn. But we both agreed that the backhoe pushes better than a loader pound per pound. But we don't see them
Well,
anymore because not many people have them in their toolbox anymore. But you still go out and buy brand new backhoes just for snow?
yeah, so the backhoe was something that, my plowing days were since, my father started the company. I've been around it my whole life. School would call off and I'd be riding in the backhoe. It was a great thing
Man.
when the phone rang that we were going plowing. I loved it. It was in my blood. So backhoe, given the fact that he was a landscaper, it was the most versatile tool before track skid steers and mini excavators and whatnot. So everyone had backhoes. Yeah, now they're phasing out. They're not as popular tool, but so it was in our blood. We had them, we used them. They push great, 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive. You got the brakes, you can help steer yourself into corners and whatnot. Um, Spent a lot of hours in a Ford 555 backhoe with a bucket, just pushing snow and chasing windrows and chasing streamers. It is like countless hours. I mean, back in '96 when we got the big blizzard here in PA, I think my dad put like 350 hours on his backhoe that year. Yeah, crazy. Fast forward to 2000, he bought his first skid steer. For Christmas when I was 12, I got a cab and a heater and we were going plowing. I couldn't reach the pedals, so we zip tied 2x4s to the pedals. There were flip pedals and
Oh
joystick
man.
controls, and I was happy. I was out there making money and loved it. So to see the progression of where we came from to where we're at now, it's amazing. A lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, a lot of things have changed, but we always had backhoes in the company. So of course, if it's a tool, it's going to push snow. We're going to push snow with it. Um, they were great when we had pushers, and then we bought our first wing plow for them, and it elevated that machine to new heights. It actually became sort of efficient with a wing plow on it, um, compared to a 12-foot push box chained on the bucket, and the chains are falling off, and you turn, and
Yeah,
the pusher
yeah,
goes one way, and the machine goes the other way. And
yeah.
we bought our first wing plow for the backhoe. It's like, oh, this actually isn't bad. Um, and everyone who ran them was happy with them. They were great. Fast forward to COVID. Now we're in COVID. Now we can't get loaders. We can't get equipment. we can't get stuff. So I'm not a huge fan on mini loaders like 908s, 906s, that mid-range size loader. I think they're overpriced for the efficiency and the productivity that you get out of them compared to a full-size loader and a full-size plow. So we could pick up backhoes $20,000 to $30,000 cheaper than a 908 out of our local CATS rental fleet with 1,000 hours, and we're not using them heavy in the summer, and they're just as efficient, in my opinion, as a 908 with a wing plow on them. So we were buying backhoes. So we got some backhoes during COVID. Now we're up to 4 backhoes in our fleet. And then we bought 2 new backhoes just to plow snow because still we couldn't get loaders. And I thought that the wheel loaders on the full size were overpriced in like the 2023 year. Cat was just struggling to keep up with production. So we bought 2 more backhoes. So yeah, for a fleet of backhoes of 5 to 6, it's a pretty heavy backhoe fleet for a snow company, but they work. We use them, we use them the rest of the year. They're nice for our commercial landscape crews that they can shuttle trees around on site, and they're faster. We can still dig with them. So they're efficient machine that still gets it done. But once we put a wing plow on them, we were able to get some heavy production out of them.
This is shocking information. I can hear the gasps from the Midwest United States of a backhoe over a 906 or a 908 or a 244 or a 324. I'm gonna be honest here. I've never sat in a backhoe. I've sold a few plows onto backhoes in Idaho or Washington. No one in Minnesota or Wisconsin or North Dakota or South Dakota pushes with a backhoe. We'll have to make a clip of this because of the backhoe. People ask me, and I'm like, I don't know
on that one.
Yeah, I'm like, there's dudes doing it in Pennsylvania, and that's about all I can tell people.
I mean, on the municipal side, I would say most of our backhoe sales, plow-wise, is to municipalities because they all have one, and the fact that they can use them in the winter, it's a great setup. But I mean, the backhoe is a huge counterweight on the back of those things, man. It just gives so much pushing power.
You definitely got to put the right operator in it too, because you got the hose sticking out the back, so there's an added element of awareness there. I don't want to jinx myself, knock on wood, but we've been pretty fortunate and pretty lucky. We haven't taken out too many handicap parking signs in employed corners and light poles with them, so they've been pretty good.
One of the funniest, I still remember I was sitting in, during one of those never ending dumps, like, you're 30 plus hours in, and back in those days, we did have a backhoe that ran full time he was the one that went around and kept the commercial lots open while the rest of us were back on res. And we were in Tim Hortons having a coffee, and his name was Real, comes into the parking lot, and he puts his plow down, and it was a JCB 214 with an extended dig boom on it. It was an older girl, and the hydraulics would just slowly release on the backhoe, right? The boom was tied up, but the extended dig kind of slid down, and so the actual bucket's like dragging on the ground, and we're all looking at him. Can he feel that? Can he hear the like?
You're worried about plows scraping.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, we also had a truck hit an overpass with the dump box up in the air. So yeah, all kinds of crazy things happen during snowstorms.
Yeah, if you start pushing the amount of hours worked during a snowstorm, it starts increasing the likelihood of something is gonna happen. That there's gonna be some repairs after it lightens up and the sun comes out. That's for sure. Just comes with the territory, I guess.
Yeah.
So you run 1036 16s on the backhoes, I believe, right?
Yep, correct. Yep. 1036 16s.
What does the rest of the fleet look like? Leslie must have just made a really good video showing the rundown of the entire lineup, and it showed from skid steers all the way up to wheel loaders. What models and sizes you're running? 830-13s on the skid steers, is that correct?
Yep, so we run 830-13s on our track machines and our 262s. We have some 250s that we run some standard 830-13s on. And then our backhoes will run the 1016s. We have a 440 backhoe, which is a little bit of a bigger frame machine. So we run a 1042 18 full liveage on that machine. That machine is just a really powerful pushing machine, so it can handle that bigger plow. And then most of the like 926 wheel loaders and 930s will run 1048 20s or 22s, depending the lot and the size of the constricted areas that would warrant a smaller wing on the plow. I personally run a 1020 on my plow, and I love the size. It allows me to get into areas that it's hard to believe a wheel loader can get, but with a wing plow and the articulation of the loader, it's amazing where I can go with that plow. And then we have wheel loaders all the way up to 950 size. Our 938s and our 950s are running van wings, whether it's a 10 or a 12-foot moldboard with 8-foot wings. So it would be either a 26-foot plow or a 28-foot plow. All of our loaders, for about, I would say 95% of our machines, run snow tires. It's amazing what the snow tires can do compared to just regular stock tires. We bought our 950 for a specific location and a specific contract. Came out of the box with standard tires. Those tires didn't even make it 50 hours, and we were putting snow tires on because the machine had so much power and could keep pushing, but we were losing traction with the tires. And as soon as we put the snow tires on, the machine became like a dozer on wheels. It's amazing what that machine can do with that plow. I mean, as much snow as you can gather into that box, it just keeps pushing and keeps going. So
Amazing.
we run a bunch of them different sizes. It just all varies on the machine and where the machine is on site, and it's going to vary on what you're doing with it. Is it wide open? Then you can go with a bigger moldboard, bigger wings. If you're bottlenecked down into some tighter employee parking lot areas and constraints, I'd like the smaller, more moldboard and the shorter wings to get around. And then, are you on one site or are you traveling to multiple sites? With the 10-foot moldboard, it allows us to travel on the roads and get from site to site. The 12-foot moldboards start getting a little wide on some of our tighter back roads that we got to wheel around on to get from building to building.
Yeah. So, sort of to summarize your services operation, I think you're gonna relate a lot to a lot of customers out there where you're in a 30-inch or so market. There's high demand accounts. So you're right on the verge of, do I go all in? But if I do go all in, I got to be as efficient as possible because I can't have extra machines sitting there with payments with inefficient blades. So I like you guys, and I like that operation because it's an example of the efficiency or the demand for low tolerance efficiency right there in that cutoff of, is this a huge market or is this a no snow market? So
Yeah.
I think you guys are a great example of that. Now let's go to the sales operation. So you are so sold on this concept that you started a Metal Pless dealership. So if you go to the Western Lehigh website, there's two sides. There's the landscaping and the snow services, and there's a full Metal Pless operation. Tell us about your sales operation, the team there, and what you offer to folks on the East Coast.
Yeah, so we're full service dealer for Metal Pless. Our team it consists of myself, Leslie, Dustin, and Eric. Everyone's here to be a team player and help anybody who has any questions or has any any lingering concerns about making the jump and switching to Metal Pless or switching to a wing plow. We're full service on parts. We stock the parts. We got plows in stock. What's nice about our operation is we are out plowing too. So our customers that are local to us that have issues during the storm, we have the capabilities and resources in our staff that we can send guys out to troubleshoot on site, on your site. If you have a wiring issue or you have a hose that goes down, we have full service in-house hose making abilities with all the fittings and all the hoses. We can crimp a hose in the middle of a snowstorm, run it out to you. You have wear parts that go down. Since we have plows in stock, we can sort of rob some parts off of plows that we have in our inventory to keep you up and get you back on your feet during a snowstorm, so you don't have the downtime for your customers and the operation keeps going. So it's just all come together to be a full service operation that works really well for everything and everybody around us who needs that support during the snowstorms.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, the team at Western Lehigh definitely has their stuff together, and you use that firsthand experience to understand the pain points for other end users in your area. So, in your snow removal operation, do you work with subs that utilize Metal Pless? Like, have you helped introduce Metal Pless in that way to folks? Like, has it been like a natural fit, or they're like, oh no, you're the competition. I gotta use something else.
No,
How does that work?
I mean, we obviously we're selling to people who are quote unquote competition, but around us in the Lehigh Valley, there's so much blacktop and there's so much snow removal work that it's hard to really quote unquote say there's, competition. Um, so we're selling to people that we're plowing with. We are working with customers that work for us that we're selling plows to. We have buildings and areas around people that have other buildings that we might plow for them, and we're selling plows to them. So it works out that we have a great relationship with a lot of great contractors in the Lehigh Valley that we're helping, supporting, and selling plows to.
And in your snow removal operation, Jake, you're at the modern age now. You pre-treat with brine and you have spray
Yeah.
systems and all that. Do you
Yes.
in your retail business, are you selling that kind of equipment too as well, or you strictly Metal Plus?
We're just strictly Metal Plus. We haven't got into selling any liquid equipment or any salting equipment, truck plows or anything like that. It's pretty much strictly just Metal Plus. With that, I should add that we do sell Ice Be Gone Magic. We're an Ice Be Gone Magic dealer, so liquid de-icer, the liquid that you can treat your salt with. So we are selling a little bit of that. Most of that we use for our own operation, but we do have the capabilities to move, Ice Be Gone Magic liquid to customers in the area. Um, with the Metal Plus, one thing that we are have been pushing in the past year or two is trying to get more confident with liquids and using liquids more on the pre-treatment side of things and de-icing with them on the backside. So last year we definitely sprayed a lot more and did a lot more pre-treating with liquids, and this year we've made the commitment that we're going to try and do even more. So we have upped our capacity on liquids, and we're going to really try and hone in on pairing the Metal Plus with liquids and trying to get that figured out that we can really reduce our salt usage and try and go more liquids in the future. Which we've found that using the full live edge plows and the scrape that we get, we feel pretty confident that we can get there. I know there's a lot of guys in the Midwest that are doing a lot more liquids than guys here on the East Coast, given our snowstorms. Our snow is a lot of sleet, freezing rain, mix, messy storms. So I've had the I've been leery of trying to switch completely to liquids, but we're really trying to make that push that we can get a lot more out of liquids than we're currently getting.
Yeah, sometimes I see on your videos, obviously the ground temps are a lot warmer than the Midwest, and the snow looks wet, and then the full live edge comes through and scrapes, and it's just like 1000%
Yeah,
gone. It's just
blacktop.
completely black. I'm like,
Yep.
man, must be nice. Like there's no there's no negative 30 days with hard pack, to get
No.
stuck so much. The full live edge is a dream come true for you guys, because I feel like the ground temps just must be the perfect scenario for it.
Yeah, sometimes the ground temps are helping us and sometimes they're hurting us because, we're not getting as much accumulation, or we don't get the accumulation as fast as we'd like or whatever. But no, we're very fortunate in the area that we're in.
So tell me, in
Only when it
19
snows.
When
yeah,
it snows.
Only when it snows. When it doesn't snow, then I complain.
yeah, 2019 1920, when you first started transitioning the fleet to Metal Plus, and we always throw out the 50% salt reduction or 50% savings in salt. What were you seeing at the beginning? Was it 50%? Was it less? Was it more? What's your estimate of what you'd be if you were still with those rubber pushers? That's one thing, but what would you be without live edge?
So we always ran a treated salt product. So we always were using less salt traditionally compared to just plain white salt. I always thought we were 30% savings from a white salt to a treated salt. And then as soon as we went to a Metal Plus comparative compared to our rubber edges, it was significant. Was it 40%? Was it 50%? Sometimes, some storms, I think it could have been 60, 70%. All depends on what type of storm it was. In our climate, we're getting a lot of sleet. In our distribution centers, it doesn't take long for that sleet, freezing rain, snow to mix to come straight hard pack. So where you can scrape it off with a Metal Plus where we couldn't before, your salt savings is huge.
You started off when you first started describing your business and your relationship with the Metal Press as more efficiency, less capital equipment, less employees, salt savings. You sounded exactly like we train our salespeople to the spiel,
Yeah.
to hear it from an actual user, and we hear it a lot about what the benefits are. But you checked off all of them. The only thing you didn't check off was the longevity of the cutting edges, but your plows are also new. But yeah, you checked all the boxes. Salt savings, less equipment, less
Yep.
operators,
Yeah. So
easier, more efficient.
one thing about Western Lehigh is, we are using the plows. So we do overturn our plows and keep our fleet pretty new. So we're selling a lot of used units. The plow that we originally bought from Justin in New Mexico, we kept that plow pretty long because I wanted to see the longevity of the plow and how it held up over 4 or 5 seasons. And when we moved that last year, we still hadn't replaced a part on that plow since we bought it in 2020.
Amazing.
No hoses, no wiring, no cutting edges, like nothing. It was originally 100% original from the day it probably left the factory, from the day we sold it.
And Justin probably had a couple hundred hours on it because he's in
Yeah,
a very snow area.
I think they got like 300 inches the season prior from when we bought it. So yeah, he
Holy
had a couple
smokes.
hours.
Yeah.
He probably had as many hours on it as we did in 3 seasons.
No, but
Unfortunately for us.
there's a 600 minimum 600 hours on a plow and original cutting edges, original everything basically. So it speaks volumes to the carbide edges.
Yeah, it like we throw it out there all the time. 1,500 hours on the moldboard, 750 on the shoes. And to defend Jake a little bit on his sales topics, sometimes you give people too much information. So when we're talking about the efficiency, the scrape, blah 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 blah, and you start throwing out the 1,500 hours, you almost start sounding like, well,
Salesman.
this guy was just, this guy's going to tell you that the thing could, fly, but then I like to do the efficiency in the scraping and then later on dunk on them with the carbide edges. But you got to do it in 2 different parts, because if you do too much, it sounds like you're selling it too hard. But man,
Yeah, honestly, I don't even really think about the maintenance side of them because they get me at the efficiency and the productivity and the salt reduction. But that is a great topic and a great point. Like when you talk about the maintenance and how long the cutting edges last and how well they hold up, it's a whole different topic of conversation that you could talk for, quite some time on. And it's true and it's huge. I mean, when we were pushing rubber edge pushers, I'd spend hours adjusting cutting edges, and then we'd push them for a storm, and the plow's not making contact in 2 foot in the center of the moldboard, and I'm, out there in the middle of the snowstorm with a wrench trying to adjust them, and the wrench
constantly putting on
the
shoes.
wrench isn't back in the backhoe; it's in a snowbank somewhere, because it's so frustrating when you're trying to adjust those cutting edges and whatnot. And with the Metal Pless, and especially the full live edge, you don't have any of that work when that plow shows up. You wire it, you plumb it with the 2 hoses from your valves, and that's it. I mean, they are.
Talking about simplicity, you guys are known for also running the Stucci connectors. So
Yep,
that you
correct.
guys are a big proponent of the Stucci connectors. I believe you're a dealer for that. You clamp on and off, away you go. You were telling me one time that there's a reasoning behind that, is that some of your accounts, like disconnecting and connecting hoses, is considered mechanical work, and the operators can't do that for union reasons. Was that?
Yeah, so
Am I way off?
we've navigated over to Stucci and started using the Stucci multi-face plates for connection and coupling to our plows on our backhoes and our loaders. On our skid steers, we don't have a huge issue with the hydraulics building pressure in the sun when the plow is sitting disconnected from the machine. So the reason we navigated to the multi-face plates and occurred the cost of those plates and whatnot was because a lot of our machines are on locations where they have to load salt trucks and they have to plow simultaneously. So someone comes in and wants to get loaded. I don't have a half hour or 45 minutes to be messing with hydraulic lines and trying to get the plow disconnected from the machine. Realistically, I probably only have 5 minutes, but it had to get down that we necked down that time to as fast as we could do it and as easy as we could, because let's face it, if it's hard and the operator or anybody has to struggle and they've been out there for 10 hours, 12 hours, 18 hours, it's cold, it's snowy, it's blowing, they're either one, they're not going to want to do it, or they're going to complain about it, or they're going to, and with all that comes issues. So we navigated over to the multi-face plates that coupler and uncoupler with pressure on the plow side or the machine side, and it just makes the ease of operating, disconnecting from the plow, so much better. They come with a docking station, so the hoses get docked onto the plow side up off the ground, so when you set the plow down, you don't have to worry about your lines getting pinched. Your wiring is zip tied to your hydraulic line, so you're not worried about your wiring dragging on the ground, getting crushed or crimped or something that doesn't allow you to hook back up to your machine. It has just made it that much more efficient and easy. You keep them anti-seize through the summer. The plates come right off the machine side. You hook them up to the plow, and I mean, we're just about through our fleet of going over everything and getting our stuff ready for snow. We have 2 more machines coming through the shop today, and we've probably about 95% of machines have been hook them to the plow that they were assigned to from last year and grease them, clean them, and put them on the trailer and ship them. They just work that much better than push on hydraulic lines. The Stucci has the twist-ons that come factory from like Cat. They're not bad, but sometimes those get enough pressure on that you can't get them disconnected with your hands. You need wrenches. It's just the Stucci makes a great product as well.
And you guys are a dealer for that.
And we are
Is
a
that
dealer
correct?
too. Yep.
Okay.
So if anybody's on the fence or has questions about Stucci's, you can reach out to someone on our team and we can help you out and answer any questions that you have.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, because like you mentioned, the temperatures, when the plow's sitting there, when the temperatures fluctuate, pressure builds up. So,
Yep. Our biggest issue is if the plow is disconnected from the machine sitting in the sun during the day, and then we come in at 9-10 o'clock to plow, and the operator has to hook up to the plow because it was either missed or forgotten, or we used it to load salt the night prior to pre-salt or whatever, and then that plow was sitting in the sun all day, and there's too much pressure built up in the lines, and you can't get the hydraulics on, and now you're calling a mechanic across town to crack some lines. Now you got the hydraulic oil that you're dealing with on some of our sites are very high critical environmental sites. So then you got to have a spill kit and you got to collect all that oil, and it just keeps it so much cleaner with the plates.
It all makes
From
sense.
Stucci.
Yep.
all right, Jake, as we're wrapping up here, how about a funner question? How about as a Metal Pless dealer and as a premium Metal Pless user on the services side, what is a product from Metal Pless you would like to see in the future? What is something that would help you? Maybe start
Here
a fun
comes the 813 full live edge.
full conversation. Oh man,
I'm pretty sure I got Jimmy talked into an 814 full live edge, so we can cross that one right off the
to
right
put
off
on
the
skid
list.
steers. Is that what we're
Yeah.
talking about? A heavier skid steer? Okay.
Yep. So you could run that on like a 299. Since the wing on that wing would be the same as a 1016, I think he said that they could build those. Man, that's a really good question. Really good question, because I feel like we've got things figured out pretty well, that they're pretty efficient. That's a really good question.
You're running small blades, you're running van wings. You kind of have a lot of the bases covered.
There is a question that slipped my mind before. I'll bring it back now that you mentioned it, Nick. So Western Lehigh was one of they were the first people to get what we call internally the Live Edge 2.0, and we weren't even all aware of it.
Live Edge 2.0, what's that?
Until a KIP Expo last year, so 2024. I wasn't there. But Nick sends his picture of the Live Edge sections because Western Lehigh provided the plows for the show. And Nick's like, what's that? And I look at the picture. I'm like, what's that? so so Jimmy, in his creativity and innovation, always wanting to do a better product, was like, wow, we've got this beautiful plow with full live edge. Why don't I throw my new live edge sections on the moldboard? So the 2 foot section now splits in the middle, so your whole plow include, because the live edge on the wings acts like a snake. So now your 2 foot section is now split in the middle. So it's 100% contour. There's nothing that doesn't float on this plow anymore. Did I don't know if you noticed a difference between those and the ones you already had that had the regular live edge sections last year, or it was just the conditions
Um,
didn't allow it,
I
or
didn't. I don't think I got to run one of those plows. I think some of our other operators on our far eastern section ran those plows. I don't know if I got any feedback, to be honest with you, on that one, Bob.
okay.
It's like one of those things where we were already like, it's such a great scrape and it's so clean. How can it get any cleaner? Definitely some spots on some areas where you can know that that split 2 foot section is going to contour better to a mold or our crown in a parking lot or whatnot. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, when I saw it, I'm like, man, he just doesn't stop. He keeps
It
thinking of
doesn't.
every
You
little detail.
no, it
Live
never
Edge, yeah.
stops.
So for those listening, Live Edge 2.0, like Bob was saying, honestly, the Live Edge scrape's amazing, and we found the 2 foot section is the key. People have knocked us off with the 1 foot section, and it doesn't work. The math is wrong, but the way they split it, like puzzle pieces. So the Live Edge on the wings is interconnected with puzzle pieces, and that's so the edges don't catch when you're in a more of a V position. But utilizing that same puzzle piece allows a 2 foot section, but a little split in the middle. It's an example of we're always pushing the technology forward, and the people who are, trying to duplicate us are always going to be behind. Like they're always going to be behind. And well, thanks to people like Jake out there utilizing this stuff and pushing us to make newer sizes, newer stuff. When we make a new size, that might lead to a new discovery. So Jake, thanks for pushing Metal Pless to be better. Thanks for being an excellent Metal Pless customer. And if you have anything in closing to say, go ahead. But we've loved having you here today.
Yeah, no, thanks for having us. Yeah, it's great to be part of the Metal Plus family. Always honored to be there. And if anybody has any questions or concerns about making the jump or has questions about anything, I'm always available to talk about plowing and snow and Metal Plus and anything. So reach out to us through our website, through social media, and we can definitely get any questions or concerns answered, and hope to add you to the family.
Thank you,
Awesome. Yes.
Jacob.
Again, a plug for the social media. It's incredible. And with that, we're signing off. But this has been another episode of the Born to Be a Snow Fighter podcast, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye,
Bye,
All
everybody.
everybody.
right. Thanks, guys. Take care.